Hey there, welcome back to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Nancy. Before I get into Nancy's question, I just want to mention a couple things coming up. There's a new workshop that I'm going to be leading in January called Welcoming What Arises, the workshop. So last January, I led a free 3-part course called Welcoming What Arises that people loved. It got a lot of attention, and people are still talking about it a lot in the community. So the workshop is going to go much deeper, be very experiential, really get into this with each other, what it means to feel everything that's showing up, and why we would do that. Why, when we fully immerse in what's here, what's real, sensory information, feeling, all of that, fully immersing in that, that's when you really get to see how much the mind is coming up to just try to distract from that. And in my experience personally and with people I work with, it's like when we really fall into that feeling space and we are what's arising, we're just so completely immersed as it, the mind kind of catches on to that and doesn't need to do its thing quite so much anymore. So there's been some emails about that. You can check that out on my website and here on Instagram as well. And the Change Coach training program is starting to fill up. That begins again in late January. I lead that just once a year, and it's just an amazing training, very in-depth for really working with people from this way, which is so different from everything else. We're not about making change happen. We're not about giving our clients some specific outcomes or even making them feel better, to be honest. We're just looking toward what's true. We're looking beyond identity. We're looking beyond thought. We're helping them lean into and welcome what arises, what's actually here, not what our imagination is creating, but what is real and present here. So if you're interested in doing this work, or just really want a super deep immersion for yourself, because we have to see this ourselves in order to point other people. The more we see this ourselves, the more easily we can point others. So the personal transformation piece, personal insight piece is a huge part of this training. So if you're interested in that, again, you can check that out on my website. So Nancy's question is, I love how she starts her question. She says, I thought I kind of had something figured out. Famous last words, right? That something was that my thoughts can't always be trusted, but my feelings can, and I should pay attention to them and allow them to influence me. But the thought, she says, just occurred to me that maybe feelings are just another form of thought, and can they really be trusted? This work is so confusing sometimes. So, it is confusing, Nancy. Totally. It's baffling. Totally confusing when we're trying to make sense of it. Like when we think it shouldn't be confusing, when it's like, okay, there's a formula here. I can't trust thoughts, but I can trust feelings, and they should influence me in this way or that way. Okay, got it. And that's always going to break down, because that is thought. As you say, you see it. Like that's the way the mind is just constantly trying to turn everything into something. Trying to turn everything that shows up into some new framework or strategy or map for how we're going to navigate life. And it just never works that way, because we don't need a map. We don't need a strategy. That is just a mind mechanism. It's just what thought does, and there's not a problem with it. Especially when we really kind of come to see, that it's just what's always been happening. And there's nothing, no map, no strategy, no way forward that we have to find and identify and hang our hats on. So I like, you say, my thoughts can't always be trusted. I mean, I talk about that all the time. I think that's great, and it's huge, and it's not a simple insight. We probably all have. If you're listening to this, you've probably seen on some level long ago that thought isn't true, that it's not true. It's not objective. It's a distortion. It's biased all the time, all the time. And what even is it? It's a distortion that comes and then it vanishes. And so what's up with that? So on some level, I know we've all seen more and more and will continue to see more and more about how thought isn't something that we want to refer to and again try to hold on to and let guide us through life. So that's awesome. So you're seeing that, Nancy, and let that continue to deepen. And then the feeling piece, you say, but my feelings can be trusted. This was what you had sort of arrived at. My feelings can be trusted, and I should pay attention to them and allow them to influence me. So I want you to see if you can get a sense in that. I mean, feeling, what even is feeling? Feeling, we can talk about feelings, we can give them names and labels, but those would be thoughts, right? Like the feeling of excitement or joy or suffering, like those are thoughts. The things I just said are thoughts, they're labels that point to something, but what is that something that's being pointed to? I mean, you can't say it without just giving more words and labels, but I tend to talk about it in terms of energy, which is also just a word and a label, but it's maybe a little more all-encompassing, a little, I don't know, it seems to cover a lot more ground, energy, and energy seems to, again, this is just a word, this is not what a feeling is, but it seems to have a sense of neutrality, more neutrality for people, and that's the feedback I've heard. Is that, it's just energy. Energy, well, I can feel energy. We are energy. We're feeling energy all the time. So there's something in that helps, I think, kind of strip away some of the more conceptual stuff. But feeling, like when you say it can be trusted, the way it looks to me is like all of life can be trusted. I mean, now again, we can get in our heads and try to trust it conceptually and think about why it's trusted, and that's just more thinking. But if it's here, and it always is, and then it's just changing all by itself all the time, and it always has been, what's to not trust in that? Your mind can make up a story about how this wasn't trustworthy because it led to this outcome you didn't like, or that wasn't trustworthy because it gave you some other feeling you didn't like. Well, those are stories, those are thoughts. So feeling, this energy, this aliveness, if we keep stripping it of the specific labels and just look at this life, whatever this is, this aliveness, whether it's could be trusted or not is sort of just, that's like another mind conversation. It just is. It kind of doesn't care about or need your trust. It just is. It's so obvious and essential and obviously safe and obviously moving and changing all by itself all the time. Now, what you say in here, Nancy, I think is really huge to note, or to just kind of notice. It helps me sort of see where your mind is going with this. So yes, lean into feeling, feel feeling, like immerse in feeling. You are feeling. There is no Nancy feeling. It's all just life. So we can lean right in and just be it and feel it and experience it fully. But then you say, my feelings can be trusted, so I should pay attention to them and allow them to influence me. That's taking an extra step. That's the mind coming in saying, okay, here's the strategy. Feelings are safe. Okay, great. Just stop there. That's kind of where you just want to stop. And then the mind comes in though and says, therefore I should feel all of this and I should let it influence me. And what does that mean, let it influence me? Well, now again, there's a Nancy feeling feelings, and these feelings take you this way and those feelings take you that way. And you should listen to this way and maybe not listen to that way. It's just not that complicated. That's just a mind trying to, again, turn this into something. Turn it into a map for you, and you don't need a map. We don't need a map. We don't need a strategy. Our mind will create those endlessly, and they just don't do anything but keep the mind busy and satisfied. So So you see it, Nancy. I think you're there. You say the thought occurred to you that maybe feelings are just another form of thought. Can they really be trusted? Well, everything can be trusted. Thought can be trusted insofar as it shows up and goes away, but you don't want to listen to it and base your life around it. We don't have to hang on thought and listen to what it says, the content of it. Same with feelings. The content of feelings isn't saying anything. It's just life arising, and then it changes. Can you lean into that and be it and feel it? Absolutely. Do you need to interpret it or be influenced by it? No, because that would just be the mind doing that. So I hope that makes sense. There's nothing we have to do or figure out. And I know it's impossible for the mind to hear that. Totally impossible. But just see if you can feel it. See if you can sense it. That the mind's over here doing its thing and that there's nothing we need to figure out or interpret. Ever. And when it feels like there is, then we know we're thinking and believing that those thoughts that are coming up. So thanks for sending your question, Nancy. Thanks everyone for listening. And I'll see you back here next Monday. Have a great week.